Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to the Bluebirds Nest, episode number 70, and this week's guest is our number 17, a summer recruit for the Bluebirds after 13 years playing in the capital for Cardiff Met, a player who once broke our hearts with a rocket, but is now a clear fan favourite with us here in Pembrokeshire, making a big impact on and off the field. It's great to welcome, as you can see, Mr. Kyle McCarthy.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Football can be unpredictable at times. And, looking back, who would have thought after all these years of going up against you, you'd now be in the blue corner of West Wales, as I go as far as saying, playing up there with the best I've ever seen you play as well. But we'll come on to that later on. But as we always do, let's build from the beginning of your football journey. Kyle, growing up, how did it start for you? Where was grassroots football?
Going back a long time now. Back to the early memories. A long time ago, in the small county of Blaen y Gwent, back home, I would say. So the South Wales valleys, but introduced at a pretty young age from earliest memories. You can go back to being maybe 3 or 4. Okay. Trying to chase after a bit of leather, still trying to do the same thing. Ironically, actually, in one of my first ever junior games, I can remember scoring an own goal, so it wasn't a good start from then onwards, but it got slightly better. It's pretty traditional. Played for 2 junior clubs, Wynlwyd and Beaufort Colts, who played a massive part in my development. And thankfully was able then to progress into an academy setup with Cardiff City, funny enough. So was there for 4 years, between 12 and 16. Again, was able to kind of develop and learn a lot from that standard, and even just the environment itself is almost a step up. So that really helped. Unfortunately, wasn't good enough at the time, so was released and moved on to Hereford, Hereford Football Club. At the time, they were in League 2. And what worked really well was the fact that I was able to study at the same time. So I was able to do or continue with education whilst playing, and still developing as a player there. So, it complemented, I suppose, my development from an educational background and on the field as well. And still playing at a really good standard, playing against, like Swansea, Exeter in the youth league setup. And was there for 2 years. Unfortunately, I had a bad injury in my first season and broke my leg, so took a bit of a knock in that sense. No pun intended, but took a bit of a knock back. But off the back of that 2 years, was actually asked to sign a short-term pro deal. Off the back of playing well, I suppose, and having some recognition with kind of the Welsh youth setup as well. So was involved in that aspect, and was asked to sign a short-term deal. By short-term, it was very short-term. It felt more like a trial period, but to still get that recognition and an offer was amazing.
Yeah.
So went back in then for literally the pre-season, I would say, and it was all great. Another step up again in terms of quality and understanding at our level. Was it meant to be? To be honest with you, I'd probably say at that point I probably wasn't in a mature mindset to maybe go to that level. I kind of found myself falling out with that setup. And the irony of it being, I think it was one of the last games in the pre-season was a cup tie against Aston Villa at Villa Park.
Oh, wow.
So it was on the bench up there. Again, an amazing experience, something that you never kind of expect or dream of to be involved. And then within a week or so, found myself being released, let go, and square one, thinking, what's going to happen now? Where am I going to go from here? Unfortunately, then that's where I had the kind of qualifications and the support from family to encourage me to go down the education side of things, and luckily applied to and was accepted to go into Cardiff Met, and I suppose the journey stemmed from there on for a longer period of time.
Incredible, mate. I didn't know that you'd had the pro experience in Hereford and anything like that. I didn't realise. So fair play, and again at a young age, it's a critical point, I suppose. I've spoken to Scotch. I see a lot of similarities with Elliot Scotcher and yourself. You know, had that opportunity, didn't quite work out, and you end up at Cardiff Met, you know, with that sort of career in the background as well as your football stuff as well. And yeah, let's talk about Met then. So you spent over a decade there. You know, you built an incredible, I think, nationwide reputation, I would say. You know, I think it's over 200 appearances, 2 Wales Sea experiences, which we'll come on to. You had some great years there. You know, you're obviously part of the journey for the club to climb the Cymru Leagues all the way to establishing themselves as a club in the Cymru Premier nowadays. As I said, I've spoken to Dylan, Scotch, even Becky about that journey, you know, all the way up to your own European adventure. You know, so unlucky when he spoke about the away goal way of going out, which nowadays obviously isn't a thing anymore. That would have led you to Steven Gerrard and Rangers back in the day. You know, crazy to think like that, but it was so close. But would you say that's the standout experience from your time at Met?
I think, yeah, in terms of recognition, I think that's probably what's going to be the most notable, or what we're going to be most associated with in that sense. So in that regard, it's probably the pinnacle of the kind of overall Cardiff Met football club experience. And without doubt, that condensed period, and I suppose even the journey up to that point, go through the playoffs, and then actually doing it after, I think it was the 3rd time we did it. We got to the playoff stage consecutively, and then managed to get over the line on penalties, which I'm sure you got very similar experiences of finally doing it. And that whole journey from playoff to actually playing it in Europe and against Progress is one of the most memorable experiences I'll ever have, for the condensed period that it was and how intense that is. It was amazing in terms of experience. Yeah, like Beck would have documented it, referred to it really well, as well as, you know, Dill being involved in it. The preparation, the attention to detail around you know, tactics and what to expect, and playing at a completely different level again, as well as the whole occasion out there, and then the return leg down at the Leclerc Stadium was phenomenal. So yeah, definitely the pinnacle from our experience. But I mean, not to come across as cliche, but having gone from what was Welsh League 3 at the time, and that journey right up to the Prem itself, to then qualify through Europe, the whole journey for me is what I think I'll look back on, you know. And it's not only the players that you play with, it's the friends that you make beyond the playing field. You know, Beck being one of those. You know, I can name those that have gone through the cycle of university playing teams, but I wouldn't do it justice. Players, you know, even before my time have helped to get that club into the position in which it is now, and it's great to see that it's thriving, and long may that continue. But for me, yeah, it's the whole journey of getting to that point, and undoubtedly I've made friendships, and that goes beyond the football setting itself.
Love it, yeah, and it's often spoken about the memories involved are wider than just your Europe, but they say it's once in a lifetime. I'm fingers crossed and praying that it's not once in my lifetime, and Alpha West will be back in Europe one day. But let's talk international though. We'll see. To date, I'm going to say you've had 2 call-ups to represent the national team. But, you and your family must be really proud of those. What were the experiences like?
Amazing. Again, yeah, I think, you know, to get recognised and to be involved in any level of international setup is you know, is dreamy. As a kid, you want to be involved in those kind of setups and fixtures, especially. The first time for me was unexpected. I think, unfortunately, there was an injury for Callum Roberts, so I got drafted into the squad quite late on. But again, thankful for doing so. The setup, the preparation, that again condensed period of the build up to the game on what is now a famous night in Carnarvon, and for the result was brilliant to be involved in. You know, you come up against those boys on a weekly basis, not really getting to know who they are, what they're like. You see the quality that they they possess, and sometimes you fall victim to it, or you get the better of some of those boys on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But to come together in a national setup and work towards something, which is ultimately beating your neighbours, was amazing. And yeah, like I said, the occasion first time round being 4-0, and the atmosphere of playing Carnarvon was phenomenal. Sorry, to be involved at Carnarvon was phenomenal, and not only just to be involved, but there is an element of representing your club and your family, and that all comes with it. So to be able to represent my family as well as the club and be alongside, I think it was Tom Price at the time, Emlyn as captain, and obviously Will Evans, who's gone on to some pretty astounding things. I think he's doing all right. That's what it'll be remembered for. So overall, the experience was great. And then the second time round, I was selected as part of the squad. So yeah, same kind of feeling, just to be back in that setup. The attention to detail, the preparation, and competing at that level is something that everyone strives for. You don't necessarily expect to sometimes get there, but again, to come on this time and make an appearance and have that feeling of your family's watching, and you want to come on and try and make an impact in the game, is something that you always strive for. And I think I'll look back on those two occasions as really, really fond memories in my time.
Definitely. And like I said, who knows what the future holds? There's two appearances, maybe the hat trick one day. Let's talk briefly about that rocket I mentioned. I've been thinking, shall I mention it? We've got to talk about it. The winner takes all match back in spring 2022, I think it was. We took the lead. Forsey opened the scoring for us on the day. It was a lovely sunny day. Cameras were on with Scorio. It was a great crowd at the Meadow. I forget who equalised. It was off a corner, if I remember rightly. But yeah, the rocket, I think Baker squared it off to you, and you just let rip. It beat Idzi in the top corner, and one goal of the season, I swear. I think that season, on the very last day of the normal league season, took you into the playoffs. That's got to be your favourite ever as well. I know you've got quite the back catalogue of goals, but is that number one?
I don't know, right? There's not many to choose from, so it kind of helps make the selection a bit easier. Yeah, it was. I think I said at the time, it's not something that we planned for. It just came out in the game itself. Luckily, I got high enough up the pitch to get in that position. It was a great bit of play from Bakes and Elliot, I think, who actually set me off, and it was literally, aim and try and get it on target. And it took a bobble, I think, at the time, which probably helped it gain a few more yards. So yeah, it's one of the sweeter ones that I've hit in my time. Like I said, there's not many to go from, but it's actually not. I would say it's my favourite.
Really? Okay.
There's not many, but you'd have to scroll back through the S4C archives, I think. There's one in our first season. We played at home against Bangor, I think it was, and I remember breaking up play from maybe around our own 18-yard area, playing it forward, breaking forward, having enough speed back in the day to get up the pitch again. And then I think it might be Connor Robertson goal at the time, just dinking it over him. And for me, I think to be involved from the start of the play and then to actually finishing it off was, I don't know, a bit more aesthetically pleasing for me. But yeah, I think I'll probably be associated for that shot into the top corner.
I remember it vividly. It was some strike, and I'm going to be going digging through the archives looking for all these other goals now as well. But you've summed up your time at Met. From the outside looking in, you were one of many key figures. The Lanarkshire themselves have come with very much leadership traits. You see Emlyn, Will, people who've moved on as well. How did the switch come then? You seem to be, a really close bond. How after all these years, why now, I suppose I want to say?
Yeah, to be fair, I think if you look back on the period in which I was there, previous boys that have come and gone, there's always been a cycle of players that have come in, have added value, done an amazing job to get the football club to where it is now, and have eventually moved on. So that was always going to happen at some point. In my case, I've had a bit of like an ongoing period of contemplating whether to continue playing and re-signing, and that's probably happened over the last maybe 4 or 5 seasons.
Okay.
And credit to Cardiff Met and the group there; they've always been supportive and given me space to make that decision. But it just so happened to be that just in the season gone, in the summer just gone, that we had some mutual conversations and felt probably the right time for me to step aside. From my perspective as well, that being, and I can only hope that the group of boys that are there now get to experience the good group of boys that are here now get to experience some of the memories that I've had over the last 13 years. So every kind of chapter has its end, and I think it's just a natural part of the cycle in which things evolve and people move on, and that's a natural thing. But in terms of then, I suppose, signing for Harry, not something that I was expecting, to be honest with you. I think it got to maybe a week before the season started. I was generally keeping fit. I tried to keep fit for as long as possible. Try and get out of the house and go for a run. Otherwise, I'll end up doing Loz's head in. So I try and stay fit anyway. And it happened to be that a week before, there were some follow-up contacts. And yeah, Pens reached out and said, we'd love you to be part of the club. He felt that they're heading in the right direction, and there's a lot of ambition behind where things are going with the club. And I think for me that resonated and maybe give a bit of a spark or a refreshed feeling for what could happen. He said, the squad depth is getting better, and I think you can see that now in terms of the range between the younger boys that are coming in and some of maybe what might be classified as senior boys is there now. And I think that really excited me, as well as, having had previous encounters against Harvey. It's always been a good challenge. So I think the direction in which the club are going and what value I could potentially add to the club is probably what made me put pen to paper. So yeah, it's a really exciting period, and definitely glad to be part of it.
Fantastic. Great to hear that. I think, when you reflect on the club's recruitment across the summer, I genuinely think it's up there with the best summer we've had for new additions. I've spoken to O's a couple of weeks ago. I spoke to Alaric earlier in the season as well. And I think even from the outside, you can see there's a really good squad this year. Results are the proof of that. Very early on, it just clicked. Yourself and the new other arrivals as well seem to settle in seamlessly. I'd say, looking into the dressing room and seeing how everyone's engaging is a good bond instantly, I'd say. After all the years then at Met, like you say, yes, new players come and go, but you were a mainstay of that for 13 years. Big change in your footballing career, I suppose, since starting with Met. How have you found, coming in, new club, as you said, new teammates, and even new management as well? Everything has changed for you. How have you found it?
Yes, it's different, but in a good way for myself. I think, and in fairness to the previous setup, like that took a lot of time to build culture and a feeling of a kind of team environment and making people feel comfortable essentially coming into that. So I definitely empathize with how that feels for new boys coming in, and definitely felt the same for myself coming into that situation. Like I said, it was really quick in terms of how it happened. Obviously, everyone gets that feeling of nervousness and a bit of anxiousness around what's it going to be like, what the boys going to be like when I join, how am I going to fit in? Like, I think that's a natural feeling to have.
Yeah, of course.
But having joined with that week turnaround between training and I think it was the first round of the MG Cup.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic. I think since the first session that I came down to in Carmarthen, the boys, Pens, Wags, Mickey, yourself, everyone behind the scenes couldn't be more welcoming. And I think you see that if you have a look around the change room and how well people get on. I think that's definitely emulated on the the pitch as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely new, definitely fresh, bit uncomfortable to start off with, but I couldn't be more thankful for how people have welcomed me and made me feel around the club.
I want to pick on what you said about, I don't want to age you with this, but you are one of the more senior players in here, yourself and a number of the other recruits. They've nudged the average age up a touch. We were last year officially the youngest squad in the league. I think we're down, still very, very young, but, you guys have come in. You've brought intelligence, experience that these boys haven't experienced themselves. You've been playing for a number of years, and I think that's carrying a lot of weight. I remember when we lost up at Flint. For some, I think it was a bit of a shock. Outside the club, they're probably thinking, I thought perhaps I'd have for West to win. It was a tough game. It's a tough place to go. I think on reflection, it's a bit of a reality check. It's allowed us to perhaps move forward with progress in the league this season. Your message in the interview, you were interviewed, you stepped up, to be fair, did an interview after that loss. I listened back to it in the last few days, and you said, we've got to learn from this now and put things right over the next couple of weeks. And it was tough to take, but it was a blip now, looking back on hindsight. That experience, it's got to be worthwhile for the youngsters, seeing you speaking like that, to enable them to grow and to learn from that. That's invaluable. And I think, again, that goes back to what I said about the summer transfer window, bringing yourself and others in who have got that experience to be able to turn a negative into a positive, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Do you find yourself supporting, particularly the younger members of the squad, and passing on your experience at all?
I think we're lucky to have, well, as you referred to, a level of ability and experience from the likes of O's, from the likes of Ben. Shep has got a great level of experience across the board, as well as, to be fair, the younger boys who've ultimately got to the pinnacle, been involved in Europe at a young age, so have had some of those experiences already. But to then use, the likes of Flint as an example, I try to pass on feedback through experience, having been involved in the Prem over the last 8 or 9 seasons now. I wouldn't necessarily say I try and coach, but just give advice from experience. And there's no point in dwelling on the lows, and you can also get too high. I think the journey of the season is so long, and you get to learn not only about yourself, but how to manage games. Having come up, against a lot of good teams already, you need those experiences to be able to move forward. And Flint is just one of those examples. I think, if there's anything that can be done to support those younger boys, whether it is just the management of their experience during that period or giving little tips and advice on the pitch, then I'll try and do that. I'm not necessarily one to shout and bawl, but I try and do it in a constructive way, and really a way in which I would have liked to receive that feedback as well. And I hopefully that does support some of those that are, coming on board and having the experience for the first time. I can only hope that that helps. But likewise, it's a new space for me, and I'm always yours to listen to some of the boys that have already been there. Tabby, who's at the moment has got international experience as well. Everyone has had various levels of experiences that are going to benefit one another. I think just leaning and supporting one another throughout, not just tough periods, and the wins and successes is part of the journey itself.
Love it. Fantastic. And as you're listing names there, I'm thinking about the squad. Almost every player has had an opportunity of leadership already, and I include some of the younger ones in. Jacob, I've spoken to in the past. He was actually English school's college captain at some point. Harry's led age grade teams. Yori's led, he was the development captain up until a couple of years ago. Then I'm looking, Alaric. Greg was Carmarthen captain last year. There's so much leadership, and it's fascinating to see. Like you said, I would agree. You are vocal. However, you certainly lead by example, You know, you're one of those characters in the dressing room, whereas others perhaps are the more motivated, you know, the loud, motivating ones, I want to say. I'm not saying you're not. You chirp up now and again, to be fair. But, you know, there's so many leaders. You mentioned Luke there now, you know, he's going to a Nations League experience with Malta. I think he's still claiming his goal, but he's, you know, scoring at that level, playing at that level. There's experiences he'll be, I'm sure, bringing back to the camp. So it's really, really positive with that respect. And let's focus on yourself then. Let's look back. You know, your performances. You had a strong start. As I said, you had a clean sheet in your first game. That MG Cup game you talked about when we played Carmarthen. It's gone on snowball, I suppose. You've made Scorio's Team of the Week not once, twice, but on 3 occasions already this season. I don't know how many times you featured that in the past, but 3 times already. That's some achievement, to be fair to you. You were the club's Player of the Month back in October as well, which is, of course, sponsored by Wine and Earth. Something new we've started this season. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
I knew from your time at Met that when you came in, you were going to be playing 90 minutes nearly every week. Your touch wood, you know, your injury record is excellent, or your non-injury, I should say. It's exactly what's happened. You've come in, you've got yourself in the starting 11 pretty much from the off, and you've been flying ever since. You know, you must be pleased so far with how the first few months have gone for yourself as well. Then,
yeah. Like I said, it helps that, you know, the group, the staff, everyone who's involved in the club has helped me to feel welcome and part of the team. I think in terms of performances, I would say I never really settle for what's happened previously. I'm quite content with how things have gone, but definitely not kind of resting on the laurels that we had a good start so far. There's things that I will unpick myself and get frustrated about, but that's for me to process and manage. And yeah, it's been a relatively good start. I think, you know, like I said, there's no point in us just accepting that we've started well, and that, you know, it's going to be plain sailing from here on. I think it's still going to be challenges towards the end of the first phase. Undoubtedly, you know, if I can help contribute to that and put us in a strong position now towards the end of the phase, then that's what I'm going to try and do. But hopefully that will continue. And like I said, there's a good level of depth in the squad that continues to make it challenging. That's not only, you know, in one area of the pitch, that's throughout, which can only be a good thing. And, you know, with the way in which Tony's managed, I think the squad, the fixtures, and how we've been set up has probably shown that in the results that we've had so far. So long may that continue. But yeah, it's great to, you know, still have that depth and be challenged by everyone, which is what it should be on a weekly basis.
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree with all of that. Let's look at the present then. We had a tough encounter with Ammerford last weekend, obviously in front of the Scorio cameras. You sort of opened your goal scoring account, I'm going to say, in the penalty shootout. Yet another one. That was our 6th penalty shootout win out of the 8 we've had since Tony Pennock took charge of the club. When you were walking up to it, I just had every confidence in you. But what were you thinking then? And you know, honestly, was the nerves there stepping up?
It was a challenge. It was a tough game. So I think, you know, it was tough even to get to that point. By no means did we want to get there. You know, you just mentioned the record there. The boys have done fantastic in terms of getting to that stage and being ruthless, I suppose, in getting through. To be honest with you, I didn't want to get it to 8 where I was placed. So it would be done by 5.
Yeah.
But, you know, so be it. It got to that point. And, you know, Notty's got a great record in terms of pens. And I think we all knew that he would do a brilliant job in getting to that stage anyway. For myself, when I got there, the goal gets slightly smaller when you get to the spot. Wasn't helped by, I think, listening back to the audio. There was some in the background or behind the goal going, lefty. Never trust a lefty on a flashing year at a time, which helped. Yeah. And ironically, I did what I tried to do against Zach in the playoff semi-final. Didn't work out that time, and it went Harvey's way. But yeah, thankfully it rustled into the roof of the net on Saturday and contributed to us getting through in the end. So yeah, Dad said after the game, "Oh, you've opened up your account now." Yeah. I was like, "I'm not sure if it I'll take it. I'll try and do an open play, and yeah, we'll take it for just getting through."
Love it. Yeah, I'm sure there's an outfield, an in-play in the 90 minutes goal coming up soon, very soon. We obviously got through that shootout drama, then 10-9, incredible to look back at that one. We've drawn, actually, Llanelli at home in the next round. The tie will be played next month, which I'm sure we'll be discussing on upcoming Bluebirds Nest. But before that, we're back in league action now for a few exciting games now over the next couple of weeks. Bala are first up at the LHP Stadium in Carmarthen this weekend. Looking at the league then, in the short term, we are already at a record-breaking points position for this part of the season. And hopefully many, many more points to come across phase 1, heading into phase 2. We're not there yet, but we are on track to get that elusive top 6 spot. What are your thoughts on how's the camp this week and going forward? Do you think are we going to get over the line?
All will be revealed. I think in fairness, if you go by record, then yes, we're on track. As you referred to, we hit that milestone of meeting previous points over the last few seasons, so it puts us in good stead. But the job isn't done yet. Having played Bala on numerous occasions, how tough those games are. So without doubt, they'll come down and want to get one up off the back of the last result that we had up there and make it difficult for us. And then following that, yeah, like you said, I think in between these league fixtures that we got left to play, you got the cup game against Llanelli, which will be a real tough challenge, one that I think everyone's looking forward to, given geographically how close it is. And they're flying as well and doing well in the Cymru South, so that'll be a real good one to look forward to, and hopefully we can have a good cup run. But the remaining fixtures are the ones that we want to make sure that we keep on top of as well. And again, they won't come without their challenges. I think even if you looked at league positions now, that isn't going to reflect what the games are going to be like and how challenging they will be. So yeah, all foot down on the rest of the fixtures, and hopefully we can claim top 6 spot as soon as possible.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Yeah, and listen, it's been great to chat through this. I've got to mention that you had a great career so far, 200 Cymru Premier games and counting. The Wales C representation, the way you're playing. I'm sure Jonah will have one eye on giving you that hat trick of call-ups, etc. But I noticed on Twitter a couple of your ex-teammates are giving you a bit of a hard time now that you reach your, I won't say twilight years, but your later years in the game. Slippers and cigars, and they're throwing some pelters at you, but you're proving them wrong, mate. So good on you. Is that, I've got to ask, is that something that you would love, that third call-up?
Yeah, it would be amazing, like I said earlier, any recognition at a national level is something to be proud of, and if it's something that I can add value to, would be amazing. Not say that I'm expecting it by any means, but it's always a nice call to have, and something that family would be proud of, and to represent Haverfordwest on an occasion like that is something that I would like to work towards. But the main thing is making sure that we have a good season and that I'm adding value in whatever way that may be. If it's claiming top 6 as a first occasion for the club, then that is a priority. And then I think we're in a pretty good position to have some success, whatever that looks like. So yeah, that's the main priority. But overall, just have a good season and add value to what the squad offers for me.
I love it. Man, it didn't surprise me. Very humble, and for the team, as the sort of ethos of the club is together, everyone achieves more. I love it. Listen, mate, it's been really good to find out about the backstory behind what's brought you finally down west and hopefully very soon scoring for us. It's always a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you for your time. Best of luck for the Bala game. Yeah, you mentioned that it's no easy fixture against Bala. We obviously scored 2 late goals to give us the win a couple of weeks ago on that Friday night of all times to travel up to Bala. But fingers crossed there's more rockets to come from you in the Bluebirds colours. Team of the week and who knows what else. Maybe even another European adventure in the distant future. But listen, Kyle, really appreciate your time, mate. And I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, right. Thank you, mate.